This conference will now be recorded.
Okay guys, let's get started. So in the last session we discussed about the SCCM historical background, right? Then we talked about the certification in SCCM, then opportunities in SCCM, and then we talked about the sites in SCCM. There are three sites: central administration site, primary site, and secondary sites. Central administration site, primary site, and secondary site. It is optional site. This one is mandatory, and this one is optional. 825,000 client computers can be, it can support one central administration site. It can support 175,000, and secondary site can support 15,000, right? It needs database. Primary site also needs a database, and secondary also needs a database, right? Clear? Why do we need a cache, guys? When do we need a cache?
When more than one primary site is there in
Right?
SCCM,
Yes, when we have more than one primary site, then we need a cache server. Otherwise, cache is not needed. Okay. Secondary site. When do we need a secondary site?
when there is
Huh?
any network issues, it means remote
Network
areas.
issues. Yeah. For branch offices, in order to manage the devices in branch offices where we have low network bandwidth. Okay. All these sites will be installed separately on which one? Windows Server. Which version? 2012 or greater than 2012. Clear? We have discussed about primary site, central administration site, and secondary site. Now, one central administration site can have 25 child primary site. One central administration site can have 25 child primary site. Okay, maximum 25, maximum 25 child primary site, right? In one central administration site, we can have maximum 825,000 client computers in a hierarchy of a central administration site. That is about the central administration site, guys. Okay, now we will discuss about the primary site. One primary site can have 250 secondary sites. So if you have a primary site, it can have maximum how many? 250 secondary sites. One primary site can have 250 secondary site, and total it can manage up to 175,000 client computers. Okay, and a secondary site can manage up to, secondary site can support up to how many? 15,000 client computers. Client computers. Okay, that is about secondary site. These are the architectural diagram we discussed yesterday for small size company, medium size company, and big size companies. Database replication happens from downward to upward. Now today we are going to discuss about site roles. Okay, we'll discuss about site roles. So we have these roles: management point, distribution point, software update point. So one by one we are going to discuss about these roles. So some roles are mandatory, some roles are optional. Okay, for example, management point. Management point is what? It's a communication bridge SCCM, first you understand SCCM. SCCM is not a single entity. SCCM is like a teamwork. SCCM is like a teamwork. For example, cricket team. You have this one is, for example, cricket team, right? In cricket team, we will have some player will be what? Batsman, right? Then some will be bowler, right? Then we will have wicket keeper, right? Then fielder, right? So SCCM is like the same concept is there in SCCM. It's like a teamwork, not a single entity. So in SCCM there are many components. Okay, each component has some functionalities. For example, this is SCCM. Okay, in that you have management point. It's one of the team members. Distribution point, another team members. SMS provider, another team member, right? Then we have service connection point, another team member. Software update point. There are many team members. So SCCM is not a single entity. It has many components. So we are going to talk about the components now. For example, management point. What is the role of management point? Make a note of it, everyone. Kindly make a note of it. Management point is a communication bridge between the server and the client. Understood? Management point is a communication bridge between the server and the client. The client computer, you see, for example, you have 10,000 computers or 20,000 computers. In each machine, you need to install client, SCCM client. A small software you have to install in each and every computers. Okay, in every machine you need to install a small software client. We call it SCCM client, and the client will not be talking to the server directly. It does not talk to the server directly. It talks through the management point. So management point is like a communication bridge between the server and the client. Okay, clear? Understood? Any question in this one? Okay, now devices take all the policies from management point. So let's say you have 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000 devices. They will collect policy. They will take policy from management point. Everyone will take policy from management point. It's like a policy keeper. So it's a communication bridge. Second, it's a policy keeper. Okay, it has all the policies. Like if you have to deploy application, that is a policy. If you have to deploy updates, that's a policy. So whatever the policy you have, you create the policy from server and you put it here on the management point. Management point is like a policy keeper. All the machine will take the policy and apply it to the devices from management point. Okay, that's a policy keeper. Then devices uploads all inventory data to management point. The client will also send the inventory data. Inventory data means whatever the things present in the client computer, like the client computer has how many uh, processor, RAM, what is the configuration of motherboard, right? Then hard disk, right? Then about hardware and software. So basically client will send the information. So it is what? It is a inventory collector. It collects inventory. Okay, and then after collecting inventory, it will pass on to the database. It will store the information in the database. Okay, it's a mandatory role. Make a note of it, guys. It is a mandatory role. That means you must install this one. You have to have this role, otherwise you will not be able to supply policies to the devices. Now where can you install this? You can install this on primary side or secondary side or any other separate Windows server. For example, management point, you can install it on SCCM primary site. For example, this is your primary site server. You can install management point on that server, or you can install this on secondary side. For example, this is secondary side. You can install management point on that server, or a separate server. A separate Windows server is there. On that, you install management point. Is it clear, everyone? Management point. Any question from anyone? Ashish, Bhargav,
No, sir.
Karthik, Manoj, Trisha. So management point is nothing but a communication bridge, policy keeper, collects inventory, put it in the database, and it's a mandatory role, and it can be installed on primary, secondary, or any other Windows server. So make a note of it. Okay, management point. Now distribution point. Distribution point is to distribute content to the devices. It will distribute software files, application files, update files, right? Operating system files. It is going to distribute them to the client computers like ATM. So suppose you need to withdraw cash. You will go to the nearby ATM center, right? Similarly, the client machine, these are the client machines, right? They need to download some application or update, or right, something, where they will download from. So for example, you have Mumbai, Chennai, and London. This one is Mumbai distribution point, this one is London distribution point, and this one is Chennai distribution point, right? So each region will have its distribution point. The SCCM server will put the content, the file on the distribution point, so that the computer in that region, for example, these three machines are in Mumbai, they will download from Mumbai distribution point. These machines are in London, right? For example, these machines are in London, they will download from London distribution point. Okay, and these three machines are in Chennai, they will download from Chennai distribution point. So the client will always download the content from their nearby distribution point, the closest distribution point. Is it clear? It is a content storage. Devices will download content from distribution point. It will be installed, either you install it on primary, secondary, or any other Windows server, or you can also install this on Windows 10 computer. It's a mandatory role. You must install this, otherwise you won't be able to distribute content. Are you clear? Any question from anyone? No?
Also, can you share with parallelly which log file we have to verify it or DP or
Sorry, can't hear you. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah. Can you share me at least one log file parallelly for if any problem, any issues while occur DPs or anything? Which log file we
Log
have
file
to?
here. No, here I will not show you any log file because we have not installed distribution point. When we will install distribution point, then I will show you which is the installation log file and which is the package distribution log file. Then you will get more clarity. Right now, if I just say dist mgr.log, what will you understand with that one? Nothing, right? You understand the functionality of this one first, and when we actually work with the distribution point, then I will show you the log file. Clear?
Okay.
Then we have software update point. Anyone worked on deployment of updates, patch deployment? Anyone here in this group? No one?
Yeah,
Karthik.
yes.
Okay. So suppose if you have to deploy updates, why do you need to deploy updates? Tell me. Hmm?
So if you have vulnerability, it will resolve the vulnerability while updating new dates. This is correct.
Vulnerability. That's it. Only vulnerability.
Even though if we have to boost up our hardware and
Hmm.
then OS functionality.
So updates are very crucial, guys, these days because cyber crimes are happening all over the globe. If you don't keep on updating your computer or your mobile phone, your uh, device, your devices are vulnerable. Hackers might hack your computers. They might steal your data. They might compromise your, important files, and then you will not be able to recover them. So, in order to keep your environment safe and secure, so you deploy updates. So first, to deploy updates, it will help you to reduce the vulnerability. Second, upgrade. For example, if you would like to upgrade from Windows 10 to Windows 11, right? So you will deploy update for the upgrade package for that. Third, bug fix. Suppose there are some issues in Windows 10 computer, right? When you deploy some patches, right? Then it will fix the issues. Then add feature. Let's say some features will get added. For example, when you deploy update, then it will be able to do some more task, right? So you need to deploy updates for these reasons, right? Vulnerability is the main thing. We reduce the vulnerability after we deploy updates. So suppose if you have to deploy updates to thousands and thousands of computers, in companies you have, let's say, 50,000 computers, and you need to keep them up to date. These are the machines like Windows Server will be there, Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows 7, right? We have to keep them up to date. How do we keep them up to date? So what Microsoft is doing, Microsoft is dumping updates in the Microsoft is dumping updates in its uh, update repository. It's Microsoft is dumping updates here in Microsoft Update Server. This is on the internet. This is on the internet. Anyone can download update from here. Now what we do, we will install one role called WSUS. We will install one server, and that server will communicate to Microsoft Update Server, and from here we will be integrating the updates into WSUS. Now, once WSUS receives the update from Microsoft, it is going to pass on the update to SCCM server. How? You need to install software update point for that. So that's the role of component of SCCM. This is one of the components of SCCM which helps you to integrate WSUS information into SCCM. So we are talking about the software update point role now. Software update point is one of the components which helps you to integrate updates from WSUS server into SCCM. And then you can deploy updates to 50,000 computers from SCCM. So what Microsoft is doing, it is dumping updates into WSUS. Then WSUS is receiving update from Microsoft Update Server, right? And then software update point, it is integrating WSUS into SCCM. Here the updates are now here. First the update was here, then update was here, and now the update received here in SCCM. And then SCCM then is gonna deploy update to the target computers. Is it clear? It is an optional role, guys. Okay, it is an optional role. You see, it is required to integrate, make a note of it, it is required to integrate WSUS into SCCM. We are talking about software update point role. You see, what is What is a software update point role? So it is required to integrate WSUS into SCCM. Point number 2, it is required to deploy updates from SCCM to client computers, right? From SCCM, you can deploy updates to client computers. That is what the second point. It is required to deploy updates from SCCM to client computers. Where you can install this role? You can install this on primary site server, secondary site server, or any other Windows server. This is an optional role, guys. Make a note of it. This is an optional role. You may or may not need this one because some people are not using SCCM, they are using WSUS only to deploy updates. It is not mandatory role, it is an optional role. All clear?
Yeah, but whoever have SCCM, they use that SCCM platform to deploy software updates, right? So instead of doing WSCS.
Yeah. Not everyone using that, but majority of most of the people, almost 99% people who are using SCCM, they are using WSUS to deploy updates. Some people who are using SCCM, they are also using like WSUS to deploy or SolarWind to deploy, or there are many other tools to deploy updates. But SCCM, people who are using SCCM, they prefer to do it through SCCM. Clear? SMS provider. What is the why we need SMS provider? It's a component of one of the components in SCCM, SMS provider. SMS provider is a communication bridge. Make a note of it. It's a communication bridge between SCCM and database. Okay, communication bridge. It's a translator. Basically, it's a translator because SCCM talks in WMI query language and database talks in SQL query language. These are two different query languages. Suppose I speak English and you speak French. We both cannot talk to each other until we have a translator. So SMS provider acts like a translator. So it helps SCCM to access database. So it's a WMI provider that assigns read and write access to the config manager database. So SCCM will not be able to access the database until we have the communication bridge between that. So that's the first thing. Second thing is it converts WMI query language into SQL. It's a converter, translator, which converts WMI into SQL query language and feeds into the database, right? It's a third point. Where can you install this? You can install this on primary site, secondary site, or any other Windows server. It's a mandatory role, guys, because if you don't have this one, then you will not be able to, SCCM will not be able to communicate to the database. It's a mandatory role. All clear? SMS provider. Then we have asset intelligence synchronization point. Asset intelligence is to categorize software. Suppose you have thousands and thousands of software inventory, you have a list. Now how will you categorize those software which are there in the list? So you don't have to manually categorize. SCCM component asset intelligence synchronization point, it's gonna categorize the software like this. Some software falls under browser category, some software falls under player category, some software falls under database category, some software falls under developer category. There are many other categories. These are just 4 categories I have given here, but there are many other categories. So application will get categorized automatically. You don't have to categorize yourself. It is required to categorize software. Second, it does inventory, right? It does hardware and software inventory plus manage software license. It will help you to manage software license as well. Plus where can you install this role? You can install this role on primary site or secondary site or any other Windows server. This is an optional role, guys. that you may or may not need this one. Is it clear, everyone? Asset intelligence synchronization point role is this one.
Kasif, I have a doubt like, you
Yes,
know,
go ahead.
as you said, yeah, as you said, like it is categorized as softwares, right? If any software is the license was expired, in backend, which service it will identify and throwing information, will pass on information to
No, it will not identify that one.
okay,
Suppose you purchase a license, you purchase Adobe Acrobat license, for example.
okay,
How many license you purchased? For example, 1000 license you have purchased. You need to import the 1000 license into SCCM asset intelligence synchronization point component. When you import the license, that means SCCM knows that you have 1000 license of Adobe. Okay, now it will give you a dashboard. So let's say you started giving license to people. Somebody called help desk and then you have given license. Somebody got approval, you have given license. So for example, you have, let's say you have distributed 900 license so far. So how many license left?
10, sorry, 100.
100. So it is going to give you free and use. So free 100 and use 900. So free 100 license is there. So you understand, okay, I have 100 license free, and 900 license is going to show you on how many on which computer these license is being utilized. Clear? That is what it does, nothing else.
Oh, okay, fine, fine. Okay.
Endpoint protection is to manage Windows Defender only. You can't, suppose you have Windows 10,000 computers are there. In those 10,000 computers, either you purchase antivirus from third-party antivirus, let's say Trend Micro or Norton or Symantec, to control, to manage these machine, I mean, for vulnerability or virus issues or malware, you purchase third-party antivirus. But if you don't want to purchase third-party antivirus, you can manage them through Windows Defender. Defender is a Microsoft product. It's an antivirus which is by default installed on Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows Server 2016 and 19 and 2022. By default, it is installed on the servers and Windows 10 computers. So if you would like to define the policy of this one, Windows Defender, like when it should do the quick scan of the computer, when it should do the full scan of the computer, what it will do when it will find any malware or virus. So all those policies you can define from SCCM. So it is required to install and manage Windows Defender antivirus on target computers. It can be installed on primary site, secondary site, or any other Windows server. This is an optional role, guys. Okay, it's not mandatory. Reporting services point.
Kasif, one second. I just verified few environment. They are using other antivirus software. Parallelly, they are patching endpoint protection, this Defender also. So it will create impact, or that's fine.
No, that's fine. It will not create any impact. Why it will create impact?
No, as you said, it's an antivirus, right? But they are using couple of things. Means even though every month they are patching this Defender also. So the policy things will be happen, right? Like
patching is for what? Patching is to update the antivirus. Patching means what? It will update its database to, let's say it has a 100 list of viruses. Every antivirus, we give the list of virus to catch. Let's say 100 list of viruses. Now we have given in the next update we have given 200 list of virus. If you find any virus like this, you catch, right? So we have to keep them up to date so that it will be able to catch new viruses. Understood?
Mm.
It will not give any impact until unless there is some issue from Microsoft itself.
So,
But generally where suppose I am using in companies, people are not using Windows Defender, they use third party antivirus like Symantec or Trend Micro. So if you are using third party, then you don't enable this role at all, you just keep it disabled, Windows Defender. Got
okay.
it?
Okay.
So you don't need to patch it because it is disabled, it's not working.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what. If you install more than one antivirus on the systems, that may harm system performance and as well
Yeah,
as
performance, yeah, it will not create any I mean other issues, but the performance issue will be there. Both will try to scan the machine, right? Both will try to
Yes.
catch virus, so it will conflict and then it will give bad performance to the company. So
yeah,
ideally
one
you
tool
should have
catch
only
one
one,
file as a virus and another tool doesn't catch as a virus.
right? So ideally people are using only one, not multiple. Now reporting services point is to get reports from the database. All our reports are present here. Somewhere around you have 471 reports created by Microsoft. Microsoft by default created these reports and they are stored in the database. Now in order to access these 471 reports or to create new report, you don't have to log into database, you can integrate these report into SCCM. So this is required, this reporting services point is required to connect report server and fetch reports from the database, right? To integrate reports from database into SCCM. Where can you install this role? You can only install this role on database server. It's a mandatory role, guys. It's a mandatory role. You must install this role so that you will be able to get reports for whatever the things you are doing. You deploy application, you need report. You deploy updates, you need report, right? Service connection point. Service connection point is to upgrade SCCM from old version to the latest version. Service connection point is to upgrade SCCM. So right now, what is the latest version of SCCM? Can anyone tell me?
07.
2107, right? Not just 07. 2107 is the latest and greatest version of SCCM. Now, what will be the next version? Any guess?
Not sure.
You see, this year they have released 2103 in March, in the month of March. Then in July they have released this 2107. Now, what will be the next version?
November.
Right. So this month they are going to release this one, 2111. All clear? So that is going to be the latest and greatest version. But how will SCCM know that a latest version is available from Microsoft? SCCM will not be able to know until it communicates to Microsoft. So a service connection point will communicate to Microsoft and will check, do you have any new update for SCCM? So Microsoft will give the update. It will say, yes, we have 2111. So you can download and install on your server so that your server will get upgraded from 2107 to 2111, right? So it is to upgrade SCCM from old version to latest version. That's the first role of this product, I mean this tool. The second role of this is to Integrate Azure Cloud Services in SCCM. SCCM, suppose SCCM needs to communicate to Azure Active Directory or Cloud Management Gateway or co-management. It will not be able to talk to the Azure directly. It will always communicate through Service Connection Point. Service Connection Point will help to integrate Azure Cloud Services into SCCM. Okay. Then where can you install this role? You can install this role either on primary side or central administration side. This is an optional role, guys. This is what? This is an optional role in SCCM, not mandatory. Okay.
Kaustubh, I have doubt. The previous slide. Can you go previous slide? This one. The reporting service could be there in the roles in SCCM, right? But the reporting service we have to install a database, as you say.
Yes. We have to install it on the database. We will right click on the database server and then choose add site system role and choose this reporting services point to get installed. It's a role of SCCM, but it connects because we have to integrate the report here. So it connects with the database and fetch the report here, integrate the report here.
No, as you said, like database, we have to install separate server and SCCM.
It's not yeah, you can install a database either. You see, suppose this is your SCCM server. You can install separate server database, or
Correct.
if you don't want to install it on a separate server, you can install it here too. That's also possible. In suppose database is here, then you have to install reporting services point here because database is here. If your database is here, then also you have to install reporting services point. Wherever you move database, you have to install reporting services point on that server. So it will create a connection from the database. It will create a connection from database to SCCM for the report server. Report server will not have connection with SCCM. Report server will get integrated once you install reporting services point.
Okay. Okay.
Service connection point, we have already discussed about it. Now the last role for today is this one, that is state migration point. State migration point is what? This is to capture user data from one operating system to another operating system. So it is required while migration of operating system. When we are migrating operating system, either from Windows 7 to Windows 7 or Windows 7 to Windows 10 or Windows 10 to Windows 11. Suppose you are migrating user from one operating system to another operating system. So we will format the whole computer, but before we format the whole computer, we will capture user data. Let's say James is using this computer for the past 2 years. Okay, James is using this computer for the past 2 years, and he has, let's say, some files in document, some files in desktop, some files on the favorites. Some of the files are there. James files are present on these on this computer. Now we are going to format this machine and give a new machine to James, or we are formatting this machine, same machine, due to some reason, and putting either same operating system or different operating system. So before format, we will capture this one on a certain location, and then we will format this machine, right? We will completely format this machine. So whatever the data we had here, they will get captured here on a certain location, and then whatever the data we had captured, we will be restoring it on a new operating system. So we'll restore the data what James had on Windows 7. We are going to restore them onto Windows 10 machine. So it captures user data, only user profile, okay, user profile before the migration and restores after migration. Where can you install? You can install this on primary site, secondary site, or any other Windows server. It's an optional role. If you need this, you can install this, otherwise not needed.
It will install the same location or anywhere it dump as a temp folder like that into the new
You can
system.
you can install this on primary site or secondary site or a separate server. Okay, so a state migration point on SCCM, let's say primary site, you can install a state migration point. Or if you don't want to install it here, you can have a separate server and you can install a state migration point on that server. Clear?
Yeah, clear. My doubt is it's capturing the user profile, right?
User profile it's capturing, it is you need to create one folder either on a same server or different location. Anywhere you have to have a shared location, so here it is gonna store the data.
Let's take a backup. And after formatting the systems, it will share the same C drive user profile, or it will dump into D drive or somewhere. The profile data.
Same structure. C drive, if it was captured from C drive, it will put it in the C drive itself.
So
Only
from where
user
it is
data,
captured
not,
in the same location.
yeah, same location, same registry, same everything will be same.
Because on the system it's reinstalled, that user need to be re-login with his credential, right? So during the time it's create a new profile on the new systems.
No,
So
no,
if
no,
it's
it will not.
done,
It should not create new profile on the system. Uh, the moment you capture it, suppose you have a profile here, you have captured here. Now when you restore, user profile get created automatically. User will not have to log in to create the profile. It will get created. Profile will get created automatically. And then when the user is logging in to this machine, it is as if user is no matter where the user is logging in the first time or the second time, as if user is regularly using the computer, he will have all his data. Okay, clear? Now through SCCM, what all things you can do, we will do all these things practically. Okay, we'll discuss about them, what all things SCCM can do, right? We will discuss about lab setup. Okay, how we are going to do our lab, uh, the practical, either on local or Azure cloud data center. We will discuss about lab architecture, how we will design our lab architecture. Any question from anyone? Ashish Kumar, Ashish Bhola, Bhargav. Ashish Kumar and Ashish Bhola are same person or different? I don't know. Ashish,
Yes, same.
same. You logged in with two
Yeah.
devices.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ashish Bhola and Ashish Kumar is same person. Okay. Bhargav, any question? Karthik, Manoj, Vishnu,
No, sir.
No, sir.
Sirisha.
shall we review the roles one more time?
Okay, let me give you a quick summary what we have done in. Let me just write down the what we discussed. We discussed about management point. Then we discuss about distribution point. Then we discuss about SMS provider. Now, management point, it is a mandatory or optional, guys?
Mandatory.
It is mandatory.
Mandatory. Very good. It's a mandatory role. Then distribution point.
It is also mandatory.
It's mandatory.
Very good. SMS provider.
Mandatory.
Mandatory. Reporting services point.
Mandatory.
Mandatory.
Mandatory. Now we have service connection point. What? Optional, guys. State migration point. Optional.
Option.
Endpoint protection point role.
Optional.
Optional. Then we have asset intelligence synchronization point. Optional, right? Software update point. Optional. These are optional roles, these are mandatory. There are other roles as well, okay, which we will discuss later on. These are the most commonly used in companies. So I have explained those site role. We call it as site roles, or you can call it as site component, right? Site roles, basically, that's the right term given by Microsoft. Site roles. So yesterday we talked about sites. Now today, site roles. Any question?
These are all site roles supported, is not supported to cache, only primary and secondary other devices install.
Good question. Software update point, you can install this on CAS. Management point, you can't. Distribution point, you can't. SMS provider, you can install it on CAS. Reporting services point is on not installed on CAS, it's on the database. You can install this one on CAS. Service connection point, not, no, sorry, asset intelligence, you can do it on CAS and software update point. So software update point, asset intelligence, service connection point, SMS provider, and that's it. These are supported on CAS. Clear? So SCCM is not one single entity, it's a teamwork. So these are like team members of SCCM. They are doing certain tasks. Management point is doing certain tasks. Distribution point is doing certain tasks. SMS provider is doing certain tasks. And so whole are the component of SCCM. Okay. Any question? Anyone? No question? Karthik, Manoj, Vishnu, Sirisha, Bhargav, Ashish. Okay, guys. So we will stop right here, and I hope the session was informative. We'll meet tomorrow. We will discuss about the lab setup and what all things SCCM can do. I had given you one assignment, guys. Not sure whether you guys have completed that assignment or not. So assignment November, where is that? November 6:30. Yeah, I will give you this assignment again. Make sure you complete that assignment. Okay. So in the group, I see Ashish is there, Bhargav, Karthik, Manoj, and Srisha. These are the members in group. Okay. Those who have not enrolled to the course yet, kindly do the enrollment so that you can continue from tomorrow. Okay, guys, we'll meet tomorrow. Thank you for joining this session.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.